Let's all join together in singing a song of welcome. Hinei ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is for all of us to be together this evening. Hinei u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov 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 u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to our Erev Shabbat services, Kabbalat Shabbat. I'm Rabbi Joe Black. I'm the senior rabbi. With me is our wonderful, very old Cantorial soloist and music director. Not you, Rabbi Foster. I'll get there. Steve Brodsky. Steve has a significant birthday coming up this weekend, so I thought I'd let him know that I'm still older than he is, but he's up there.
Yes, you are.
And our amazing Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Stephen Foster, is with us. You know, this was a year we were hoping to be able to do many things to honor Rabbi Foster on the occasion of his 50th anniversary in the rabbinate, and COVID just got in the way. So, but we still want to find many more ways to celebrate you, Rabbi. Welcome, and we'll be hearing from you lately.
And I'm older than both of you. So.
You are. That is very true.
Not both of us combined, so that's
No.
Then you'd be older than Moses. That's not good. All right, we'll see you in a little bit, Rabbi Foster. And we continue with blessing Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel
There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. Join me. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. And so we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. So there are times when we are anticipating an exciting event. It may be a significant birthday this Sunday. It may be a wedding. It may be a new thing that is happening. And when we sing Lecha Dodi, there's that sense of anticipation, that sense of joy. When we say the words Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, come my beloved, to greet the bride. We are not the bride and groom. Shabbat is the bride. And yet when we are in Shabbat's presence, we feel the joy of a wedding. We feel that love. We feel that excitement. And so let's together welcome Shabbat in beautiful music. Steve?
Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Let's sing that again. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Yishmiyanu el ha'miyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, V'shemol tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'necha, Hi mekor ha'bracha, Merosh mikedem mesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, Iva orei, kumi ori, uri uri, shir daberi, Kivol Adonai, alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. I invite you to rise as you are able, either physically or spiritually, and face the entrance to your worship space this evening so that we can all together welcome the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'tzola, Toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat. standing for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which times and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv Aravim.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love.
As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'ahava.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love and unending love. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. You may be seated, and together we'll continue with the chanting of Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Emet.
Emet. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. Together, the high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Very close to the beginning of Hanukkah. The first night of Hanukkah is this coming Thursday night. And so we've begun to use this very well-known Hanukkah melody in our services in a couple of places tonight. But we'll sing the words of Micha Mocha to the melody of Ma'oz Tzur.
Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch Ata Adonai, Gaal Yisrael.
A prayer of joy. God, thank you for joy and delight, for wonder and awe, for moments of gladness and celebration. Grant me the ability to breathe gentleness into my hours and seasons so that I live awake to beauty, to holiness, to the radiance that surrounds us. Grant me the wisdom to arrive each day with passion and humor, with song and dance, with smiling eyes, in service to myself, in service to others, in service to your holy name.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, וקורא עונג ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת. מקדשי שביעי כולם יזבחו ויתענגו מטובך, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת. וקורא עונג ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר ומעשה וראשית. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, וישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת. וקורא עונג ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת. There is a chain of both unimaginable delicacy and infinite strength, bound 13 times, from head to heart to hands to you. It stretches further back than time until it reaches those who first cried out your name. I see them in the mirror, hear their voices in the night, feel their joy, and taste what they found bitter as if it were iron on my tongue. Together we are whole. Together we remember, and so we sing your praises.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Open up my lips and let my mouth declare your praises. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibur le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol ata Rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach umorid hagashem. Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom melach, Melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, ukedoshim b'chol yom yehalelu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
We take some time now as we move away from others' words and find those prayers that are imprinted upon and within our hearts as we look within there to find God, and we pray in silence. This new Hanukkah song, we'll hear it a lot over Hanukkah. But in times of darkness, it's up to us to be the light. Be the light, be the light. When darkness surrounds us and we can't tell black from white, be the light, be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. Ooh, doo, 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 doo. At this gloomy time of year, the wind blows harsh and cold. Daylight disappears, and darkness takes its hold. We tell the ancient story of the Maccabees' brave fight, but today their task is in our hands. We all must be the light. Be the light, be the light. When darkness surrounds us and we can't tell black from white, be the light, be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. Ooh, doo, 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 doo. History has taught us that tyrants feed on fear. Long as we are willing to stand and persevere, when we use our strength and power to stand up for what's right. Oh, every waking hour helps us to be the light. Be the light. Be the light. When darkness surrounds us and we can't tell black from white, be the light. Be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. Ooh, doo, 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 doo. Our enemies know well that power is quite fleeting, as long as truth and courage in our hearts and souls are beating. Oh, justice past is twisted. We've got to hold on tight to our faith, 'cause we've insisted we always be the light. Be the light. Be the light. When darkness surrounds us and we can't tell black from white, be the light. Be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. Be the light. Be the light. Each candle that we kindle calls on us to be the light. Ooh, doo, 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 to be the light. So we turn now to Sefer Kriyat Torah, the service for the reading of the Torah. And I want to call Rabbi Foster back on screen. I asked Rabbi Foster how he wanted to be introduced. And he said, I want to be introduced as the father of the president of the congregation, which he is. But he also is a rabbi among rabbis. He truly has always been an inspiration for me throughout my rabbinate, and a dear friend, a dear mentor and colleague who has given so much these past 50 years, the Temple Emanuel. So, Rabbi, it's an honor.
Thank you, Rabbi Black. It's my privilege and my honor to have this wonderful, wonderful opportunity to share a few thoughts and to, first of all, thank you and your staff for this. Now, I'm looking at the screen, and I see you, and I'm supposed to see me. But other than that, it's okay with me. But
you won't see yourself, but you're there. We see you.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Okay. But I see you. You're right down in the middle of the screen. Big picture of Joe Black. It's all right. I do want to thank you and your staff, because this has been a terrible, terrible year. I know that you talk about this each and every week, whether you know it or not. I do go to services at 6 o'clock Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and it's a joy for me, because I can't quite understand being from the older generation. I'm not technologically as advanced as most of you guys on the staff, but I'm amazed at what you have been able to accomplish. So I thank you. I thank you for doing everything you can to try to help make this this community a virtual synagogue, a real community. And I think that's really to your credit. I've been thinking a lot about these last couple of weeks about what I wanted to say tonight, because these last 2 weeks or so have been so very, very difficult. We all know that many, many events are taking place, and not just within the congregation and the community, but we know that this is a time, a very, very important time of transition. So I wanted to think a little bit about what I think is so important for all of us right now. That is conciliation. and reconciliation. That's what this week's Torah portion at least begins with. For those of us who have been cheering these last few weeks, I recognize that we are grateful that that our person who we wanted to become president-elect is president-elect. But by the same token, we also recognize that there are many people in our country who are hurting. And I suppose if the election had been the other way, we would be hurt and others would be feeling very good. It's been a very difficult time for all of us, no matter what side of the political spectrum we're on. I don't want to talk about politics tonight. This is, no matter what I say tonight, some people, because I've started this way, will say, oh, he's talking about politics again. That's not my purpose. Thank you. That's not my purpose. My purpose is really to try to understand how we can move from where we are to another place, to an important place in the history of our country. And so this week's Torah portion plays, at least for me, a very, very important role. Jacob and Esau, two brothers, were warring with each other before they were born. They were warring in the womb. And then there were two significant events that took place. One, Jacob and Esau were two very different people. And Jacob was the younger of the two. And he really wanted the birthright that was Esau's. And so there's this wonderful story. It's not such a wonderful story. It's a difficult story. Story of how it is that Jacob tricked Esau out of the birthright. And a little bit later, there's a second story. Again, not a pleasant story. The story of Jacob saying to his father, he wants his father's blessing, which was a very important thing because it really belonged to Esau. And Jacob goes to Isaac and he puts hair on his hands. And Isaac says to him, the hands are the hands of Esau, but the voice is the voice of Jacob, but he gave him his blessing. And of course, Esau was very, very angry. And Esau threatened Jacob. And it was because of that that Jacob left his country and went to another place and began life again. But this week's Torah portion tells us that it wasn't just that. It wasn't just the threats of Esau against Jacob, but it was the way in which he lived his life. And he became a very successful man who wanted to go home. And the story that we read tonight is the story of a reconciliation. A reconciliation that takes place between Jacob and Esau. And we're not sure that it was going to happen altogether. But it's important for us to recognize Jacob had a plan in spite of his fears. And Esau had a desire to reconcile. It wasn't one as opposed to both. Ultimately, both needed to be a part of this reconciliation. In order to continue life, they had to reconcile. I want to tell you what I consider to be one of the most important issues about this reconciliation. You know, we are so much divided into camps today. We're on the right, we're on the left, we're liberals, we're conservative. And we don't often recognize that perhaps we all need to move to the middle ground. I've always loved to teach this particular lesson. And I teach it in two different ways. Who have been the ultimate successful people in life? Which groups? Think about that first century of the Common Era. We Jews were in ancient Palestine. Rome was taking over, and Jews responded in at least 3 different ways. The Zealots responded and said, we will never, ever, ever give in to Rome. And they all died in Masada. And the next group was the group of the Qumran community. That group that said, we're going to let you all fight. We're going to sort of live by ourselves near the Dead Sea. The people who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls. And they don't exist anymore either. But it was the Pharisees who ultimately won for us as a people. And the Pharisees were sort of in that middle ground, trying to take learning, prayer, study as the way in which they would approach the future. They were the middle ground. They weren't right, they weren't left. They were in the middle. I think about modern life. Listen, when I first came to Denver 50 years ago, we were in the midst of a great war in this country. Not in America, but in the middle of the Vietnam War. And we were divided then as well. There were many, many people who were on the far right who said, America, love it or leave it. If you don't love this country and you don't like what we're doing in Vietnam, then leave. And on the far left, there were people that we would refer to today as hippies. Make love, not war. And they were correct as well. But they were on the fringes, both of them. But who ultimately became the forebears of what we have today? It was normative Republicans, Democrats, people who did try to work in the middle. And I've always believed, and I've always tried to teach this, that it's middle ground that we ought to try to find. And sometimes that's difficult today. Those of us who support what has just taken place, we can be awfully smug sometimes about that. And those people on the right who can say that they don't like what has happened, that they were somehow cheated, they can dig in their heels as well. But that is not going to solve problems that we live with. Truth is that there will be middle ground that helps us to survive, helps us to be reconciled. I think about Jacob and Esau and what they were thinking about and contemplating before they met together. Jacob, of course, was dividing everything up so that in case Esau made good on his threats to Jacob from years earlier, he would at least have part of his family together. And we think about Jacob because Jacob sat down one night before he was to meet with his brother, and he wrestled with an angel, with some strange being, which I would like to call he wrestled with his conscience. Torah doesn't tell us about what Esau did. It only says the following. It said, Esau ran to his brother and kissed his brother when they reconciled, which from my point of view means that it was Esau also who had to give up on the past, had to give up on his threats, and had to understand that for the two of them, it was trying to meet in middle ground. I believe, dear friends, that's what these days are about. And I believe that if there's going to be a future for us. There are no easy answers. But I do think that we as people have to look to the future. We have to try to understand those people who don't agree with us and try to reach them hand in hand, arm in arm, because they are not our enemies. And I also think that we have to understand that this is a time of not only reconciliation, I hope that we can find that, but it's also a time for rededication. After all, that's what Hanukkah will be about. It's rededicating that temple, not dedicating it. It's reinvigorating the temple so that it can be used again. And I would hope that we would find the same opportunities for one another in this great country in which we live. We have to have perspective. Last spring, as many of you know, Joyce and Debbie and I all suffered COVID. We were amongst the first. And we were, as I understand, we were pretty sick. Not in the hospital, not on ventilators, but we were pretty sick. Somebody sent me this reading, and I want to read it again. I read it in the spring. Rabbi Black asked me to give a sermon after we recovered from COVID. Give a sermon, talk about what it was that happened to you and how you think about it. And I ended it with this reading because I think it is what we need right now. All of us, not just political parties, but us as human beings, us as people of faith, us as people who really want to create the values that will give meaning and purpose to our futures. It's called perspective. I want to end with this. For a small amount of perspective at this moment, imagine you were born in 1900. On your 14th birthday, World War I starts and ends when you are 18. Later in the year, a Spanish flu epidemic, not unlike our pandemic, hits the planet and runs until your 20th birthday. On your 29th birthday, the Great Depression begins. Unemployment hits 25%. The world GDP drops 27%. That runs until you're 33. The country nearly collapses along with the world economy. When you turn 39, World War II starts. You aren't even over the hill yet. Don't try to catch your breath. On your 41st birthday, the United States is fully pulled into World War II until you are 45. At 50, the Korean War starts. At 55, the Vietnam War begins. You are 62, the Cuban Missile Crisis threatens to end life on our planet as we know it. When you turn 75, the Vietnam War finally ends. Perspective is amazing. Yes, we're in a challenging time. Try to remember everything that those born in 1900 endured and accomplished, and have faith that we will endure as well. Let's be smart and help each other out. We will get through all of this. And so it is with those thoughts. I hope and pray that all of us will find strength, will find courage, will find a future in days to come. Thank you again, Rabbi Black.
Thank you, Rabbi Foster, for those inspiring and vitally important words. We so appreciate you. And judging from the comments on Facebook, a lot of other people do too. So we're going to continue now with the reading of the Torah. And we have Parashat Vayishlach we learn. And participating in the Torah service tonight are Lexi, Sarah, Doug, and Emily Brown, because Lexi will be becoming bat mitzvah tomorrow morning. Of course, Sarah is our wonderful director of adult engagement, so this is kind of a family bat mitzvah for those of us who work at Temple. Chanting Torah will be the inimitable Steve Katz. The English of the Torah reading will be read by our board member, Lori Collada. And then closing out with the second blessing, another amazing bat mitzvah and her family. Jennifer Bezosa tomorrow morning will celebrate becoming a bat mitzvah. She'll be joined by her father. Taylor Bezosa will be becoming bat mitzvah. She'll be joined by her father, Alan, and her mother, Jennifer. Browns?
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lifanav el Esav achiv arza seir sedei Edom vayetzav otam lemor ko tomrun ladoni le'esav ko amar abdecha Yaakov im Lavan garti va'echar adata vayhili shor v'chamor tzon ve'eved v'shivcha v'eshlecha lahagid ladoni limtzochein beinecha. Vayashuvu hamalachim el Yaakov lemar banu el achicha el Esav v'gam holeik likratcha v'arba meot ish imo vayira Yaakov ma'od vayetzer lo vayachatz et ha'am asher ito v'et hatzon v'et habakor v'hagmalim l'shnei machanot vayomer im yavo Esav El hamachaneh ha'achad v'hikahu v'haya hamachaneh hanishor lifleita vayomer Yaakov Elohei avi Avraham v'Elohei avi Yitzchak Adonai ha'omer Elai shuv li'artzecha u'lemoladecha ve'eti va'imach katonti mikol hachasadim u'mikol ha'emet Asher asita et avdecha ki v'makli avarti et Yardein hazeh v'ata hayiti l'shnei machanot hatzileini na miyad achi miyad Esav ki yarei anochi oto pen yava'o v'hikani im al banim v'ata amarta hetev eti v'imach v'samti et zaracha kecha'ol hayom asher lo yisafer merov.
Jacob now sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esav in the land of Seir, in the countryside of Edom. He instructed them as follows: Say this to my lord Esav, Thus says your servant Jacob, With Lavan have I stayed and have lingered until just now. I came to own cattle, donkeys, sheep, and male and female slaves, and I am sending my lord this message in the hope of pleasing you. When the messengers came back to Jacob, they said, We went to your brother Esav, and he, too accompanied by 400 men, is marching to meet you. Jacob was terrified. So anxious was he that he divided the people who were with him, and the flocks, the herds, and the camels into 2 camps. He thought, If Esav advances on the first camp and strikes it, the remaining camp will be able to escape. Then Jacob said, God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, eternal God who says to me, Return to your native land, and I will make things go well with you. I am unworthy of all the proofs of mercy and all the faithfulness that you have shown your servant. For I crossed this Jordan with nothing but my walking stick, and now I have these 2 camps. Save me, I pray, from my brother's hand, from Esav's hand. I am afraid of him, lest he advance on me and strike me, mother falling on child. Yet you said, I will make things go well with you, and make your descendants like the grains of sand along the seashore, which are too many to be counted.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam nata b'toheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. And so we, first of all, once again, we thank Rabbi Foster for those wonderful words. All of our Torah participants, the Browns, the Bezos, this Alan, Lori. And at this time when we are acutely aware of our fragility, our mortality, at this time when we are within reach of a cure, not a cure, but a shot, our focuses turn to those who are ill with COVID, with other diseases. And so we ask these words, Mi sheberach avotenu, may the one who blessed our ancestors, our fathers, our mothers, to send healing, to send hope, to send faith and courage to those who are in need. And of course, I'll be reading a list of names in between the two verses. But if there are other names, say them. Say them out loud. Say them through your tears, so that all of us might ask for God's healing blessing on their behalf. Mi sheberach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. On this Shabbat we are mindful of Zachary Hoffman, David Karner, David Lustig, Natalie Mosier, Jeff Cohn, David Goldenberg, Stuart Myers, Catherine Plus, Vicki Adams, Jean Silber, Scott Grant, David Horowitz, Violet Franks, Roger Simon, Scott Englander, Stacy Hoffman, Shanti Chazan, Robert Tucker, Jenny Brynan, Lynn Pollitt, Lynn McLaughlin, Cromar, Cindy Friedland, Betsy Epel, Devorah Miriam Bat Yehudit, Howard and Marcy Rosenberg, Glenn Richardson, Leonard Streer, Deborah Alenikoff, Flory Katchen, Brandon Stoltz, Stephen Cohn, Cheryl Cohn, Cindy Levy, Michelle Zuckerman, Lawrence Ziegler, and Caden Carabell, all those whose names are in the chat, all those whose names are whispered, shouted, prayed. Baruch atah Adonai mikor harefuah. We praise you, Adonai, the source of healing. We pray together. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We continue as we move toward the conclusion of our service. I invite you to rise, either physically or spiritually, for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך
Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and every nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. As on this Shabbat, we recall Eugene Gladstone, who was taken from us during the past 8 days. And we link to his name those who were taken from us in the previous 30 days. Rocky Brown, Ed Diner, Trudy Dock, Joe Kaufman, Louis Nieberg, D. Rosenblum Paul, Pauline Tayo, and Bob Weil. And we link to their names those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose death, occurs at this time. Celia Altenberger, Bill Archenhold, William Archenhold Sr., Max Buckman, Sheila Ray Bogdanovich, Leon Milton Bronfman, Nathan Charsky, Manette Cohn, Julian L. Cook, Jack H. Diamond, Dr. Emanuel Friedman, Jack J. Gelt, Carrie A. Goldhammer, Agatha Blum Goodman, Monroe B. Gross, Emmett Heitler, Philip Hornbein Jr., Bess C. Ilmer, Norma Katz, Lillian G. Kornfeld, Joshua Mordechai Lee, Abe J. Lehrman, Maury Levine, Sheila A. Levy, David A. Lepan, Max A. Milstein, Esther Minkin, Marge F. Moak, Dr. Edward Newlander, Simon Quiet, Abraham Rakowski, Israel Rayfish, Fanny Anfenger Rhines, John Razy Rifkin, Isidore J. Rothstein, Maurice Sharp, Harry I. Smukler, Fred S. Salander, David R. Stark, Samuel Stein, Irma Streer, Toby Leah Titman, Matilda Weil, Joe Wenner, Marshall West, and William Curtis Wise. And as always, we remember 10 of the 420 precious souls from the community of Colleen, for whom our finer chapel, our Colleen Chapel, are linked, and we read 10 names every week. Frantiska Eisnerova, Erwin Engel, Leo Engel, Otto Engel, Eva Englova, Olga Englova, Regina Englova, Pavel Fantel, Thomas Fantel, and Marie Fantlova. Zichronam Levracha, may their memories be for an eternal blessing. At this time, I ask if you have lost a loved one in the past 30 days, that you rise either physically or spiritually in honor of their memory. If you are still in the 11-month period of mourning since the loss of a loved one, rise physically or spiritually as you can. And if you are observing a yahrzeit or the anniversary of a death on this Shabbat, rise as you are able and say Kaddish together. And we all stand with you as together we recite these ancient words that link generation to generation. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divrachir ute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach, la'alam u'lalmei almaya yitbarach, v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yit'ale v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. And may the source of peace, who makes peace in places far beyond our knowing, send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved here among us wherever they may be, and let us all say Amen.
Oseh shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru
So there's a lot happening at Temple this weekend, and then as we get into Hanukkah. So tomorrow morning, all on Facebook, our 9 a.m. Young Family Shabbat Experience with Rabbi Emily Hyatt. At 10 a.m., Steve Brodsky, the almost birthday boy, will be teaching us Torah. If you want to be part of the Zoom, you need to register with the link that you received in the e-notes, or it will also be on our channel 1 on our website and our Facebook page. At 11 o'clock, community service led by Rabbi Hyatt and Steve Brodsky. Again, also on Facebook and on channel 1 of our Facebook page. And 7 o'clock p.m., I will be leading Havdalah, probably with some other people as well. Tomorrow also streamed to channel 2 on our website, and as well as the Temple Emanuel Denver B'nai Mitzvah page. At 9 o'clock a.m., we'll be celebrating the fact that Lexi Brown is becoming Bat Mitzvah. That's again with me and with Cantor Sachs. And 11:30, Taylor Bezoza will be celebrating become a Bat Mitzvah again with me and Cantor Sachs. Now, Hanukkah is coming, and we will be lighting candles every day at 5 o'clock, beginning on Thursday, the 10th of December. The 11th, the second night of Hanukkah. What's happening on the 11th, Steve Brodsky?
We need Steve Stark to say this. It's hoopla.
Yes. Hoopla. He would say hoopla, though, but that's okay. Yes.
Hanukkah hoopla.
Hanukkah hoopla. 6 o'clock to 6:30 is our service. And then at 7:15, a concert featuring many people that you know. It'll be a lot of fun. The building, of course, is closed, but every night we will be lighting Hanukkah candles throughout Hanukkah at 5 o'clock. Watch for live and recorded events and other posts many days, both on our Temple Emanuel Facebook page and, of course, our e-notes. There's a lot that's going to be happening after Hanukkah as well. Stay tuned. We're excited about it. You should be, too. So, Steve, I understand you have a very special Kiddush cup.
I do. This
Tell us
Shabbat,
about it.
This Shabbat marks the 47th anniversary of me becoming a bar mitzvah.
Wait a minute. So let me do the addition there.
Yeah,
You
do
were
the math.
13 when you became now. Okay. Ooh, you're old.
Yes. Not as old as you, but yes,
That's true.
I'm getting up there. And, you know, I've worked at Temple Emanuel 2/3 of my life now, so that's a good thing. But this Kiddush cup is the Kiddush cup that was gifted to me by my home congregation growing up, Indianapolis Hebrew congregation in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I polished it up this afternoon, and I'm thrilled to be able to use it. You know, when we give a Kiddush cup to our B'nai Mitzvah students every week, we tell them that it's the beginning of a collection of Judaic objects that they'll be able to use throughout the rest of their life. And here we are, 47 years later. I'm still using this Kiddush cup. So very.
Steve, I have a question for you. When they celebrate Hanukkah at Indianapolis Hebrew congregation, do they call it Hoosier Hoopla?
I knew there was a pun coming in there somewhere.
Sorry, I'll be quiet.
That was bad.
I know.
Anyway, let's join together in chanting Kiddush as we recognize the holiness of Shabbat. Join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
Steve, I don't know if you noticed that Rabbi Hyatt made a comment that said, "We're both old."
Yes.
We'll remember that.
It's all a matter of perspective, I guess. The challah fairy is running a little late tonight, and I can smell it cooking upstairs, but it's not quite done. So we will use this amazing photograph of one of my wife's previous challahs to bless together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. We will conclude tonight by singing this most famous of all Hanukkah songs, Ma'oz Tzur. Oh, Rabbi, I wish we could play together. Hoopla will look a little different this year for sure. It's one of the most fun nights of the year, and we're going to do our best to make it fun and interactive with some activities and games and lots of music. So join us next Shabbat, next Friday night for Hanukkah Hoopla. Ma'oz Tzur Yeshuati B'chana Elishabeach Tikon Beit Tefilati B'sham Todah Nizaveach V'yetachin matbeach Mitzar haminabeach Az egmor b'shir mizmor Chanukah
Eloheinu ve'Elohei kol dorotenu, our God and the God of every generation. We give thanks, even when it's dark. When it's dark physically, spiritually, even politically. Give us the ability to see the light in each other, God, and to find middle ground, to find ways to come together and find hope, to find healing. Hanukkah does mean rededication. May we rededicate ourselves to the values that make our country great, that makes our congregation great, that makes each of us able to see God's presence in our lives. And we ask your blessing, O God. Bruchim hayinu b'voenu, bruchim nihiyah b'tzeitenu. Blessed were we in coming here. Blessed may we be as we go forth from this time and always. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.